Yeah, thanks. Okay. Guess I've got the slides. Yeah. I'm Vukosi. I'm the chair of data science at the University of Pretoria. I'm also a CTO and co-founder of Lelapa AI, which is a startup based in Johannesburg in South Africa, working also on AI. And I co-founded the Deep Learning Indaba, as well as Masakan NLP, which are some of like a big, impactful grassroots AI organizations based on the African continent. So I wanted to just reflect on some lessons of things we've kind of worked on over the last 6 years or so in really talking about today. So one is revolutions are fast and slow. So to get things to stick, yes, there might be lots of activity in the short term, but then in the long term, you need to do the slow, right? There's this hard work that still needs to be done. And I think today there's been a lot of thinking about that, of saying, again, yes, how many new AI experts have just sprung up very quickly, but then there's still the slow that needs to be done to really get things to stick on there. At the same time, there is this part of like we want to go fast at the same time, and you still need to also bring people to come in together because you want to go far on there. So there's going to be a lot of change. There's a lot of ideas that are floating around. Most will wither away. And I think a good way to really think about this in some other ways is the whole part of like, we're almost at 150 papers on archive every day on machine learning and AI, right? And this has just been a very short space of time, and this has an effect on us. But let's go back then, 2021. I think for me, this was a seminal point in my life when it comes to AI. Jeffrey Hinton in 2016 said, hey, we no longer need to be training any radiologists because AI will take this over, right? And then you fast forward, and we have more radiologists than we ever have before, right? Because that didn't happen, right? And in 2020, this happened, and I noticed it because I was trying to work a lot with my team at the university to say, how do we support people around COVID? And we said, don't build any AI models, right? There are other things that have to be happening. But what had happened is that our funding structures changed and started giving a lot of money to people to do X plus COVID, and one of those things ended up being AI plus COVID. We didn't have tests. Then we had radiological images, and then there was this whole race to say, let's build AI to identify from from X-rays that somebody has COVID. So in this paper here, what they ended up doing is then doing a review of, let's look at all these studies in 1 year. Think about the man hours of 2,000 papers that were created in just the space of 12 months. And then now let's figure out if we then evaluate them, would they be actually clinically relevant? Could you actually apply them in a hospital setting and actually be useful? The quick answer is no. None of the papers could have been used in that way. And it shows that thing of for me, when it comes to this thing of societal impact is, hey, we're just rushing in, we're AI people, we're not bringing in the other people who have to be in the room. We got the data set, let's just apply the AI. Right, but we don't think about these other things that have to happen. And one was this risk of bias issues and then applicability concerns. It's a very nice paper to go through within there. And it really, for me, I use this even when I'm teaching my data science students of thinking about, hey, when you're put in there as an expert, think about who you're bringing into the room, right? So there will be things like governance as a team sport. It can't be one person doing this. Putting it down to the AI person to be the one, the ethical use and all those things doesn't make any sense. Typically, for a lot of places, it's the lowest common denominator, the junior engineer, the junior scientist who has to work on this thing, and then saying that they have to be the most ethical, for me, doesn't make sense. We must also humble ourselves when we go into these scientific spaces. Right? We're not the experts in the science necessarily. We've got tools that could be useful within those spaces, but you have to learn on the other side and also be driven on there. And society has to have a voice. And for society to have a voice, they must understand what is going on. Right? It can't just be that you have these discussions about societal impact and then society is not there. It's just us sitting in this room and then making those decisions for other people on there. And I wrote a little bit about that of saying, yes, it's more than just kind of the policy. It does an effect on a day-to-day of what's happening with data science. And there is this part of is data and compute all you need? There are infrastructure challenges, there's data biases, there's a huge skills gap within these areas. I'm on the African continent, and these come in different ways. So I've lived in Silicon Valley for a while. you get, after a while, you understand, oh, this is where everything is designed. But then once you move out of there, even in the US, it kind of then falls apart. Just imagine then you're moving to the African continent, not that much data, lots of infrastructure challenges, there's skills gaps within there, and then the regulation is not even, there's some places where people haven't even started thinking about regulation at all. And you don't even need to do that. You can think about the precursor of just data, privacy and data protection before you get to the AI on that. And this is a huge challenge that we actually are seeing kind of at the moment. But at the same time opportunity is that you've got, it's not challenges supposed to be, I'm sorry about that, youth and innovation. You've got collaboration and partnerships that you could look at as an opportunity, community engagement, and then also trying to think really, as you're designing these things, how you really think better about the environment and then health concerns on it. So one, I think from my lessons that you have to provide some sandboxes for people in the sciences, and other things to be able to play around with some of these tools and then work with experts in those areas. At the University of Pretoria, we've done this through really bringing in data science and AI students to work with other departments in the university, and through this both learn, right? It's not the students going just into an area where people don't know completely what's going on in there. They can teach them, and then at the same time, they also get to learn. And how do you actually then communicate with people who are outside your space? And this has been very interesting in bringing in things like food sciences, bringing in law, all these people to actually start working with those areas. And we're hoping down the line, yes, it's going to help in this new scientific discovery that they need on there. So that's just one of my classes on there. The other one we had to think about, especially on the African continent, is dealing with the skills gap. And also, we need to have people actually be able to shape these technologies as they come in on there, is that we can't wait for these saviors who are going to come and then build up all these tools for us. We have to build the skills ourselves and then figure out how we shape them and make sure that they actually represent us, as opposed to having to change given what's actually going on. So one, we co-founded this organization called the Deep Learning Indaba, where our vision there was to strengthen African machine learning so that we're critical contributors, owners, and shapers of these technologies. So this is going back to about 2016 when we thought about this, because we were very concerned with what we were seeing, and we were saying we're going to be caught off guard, that we don't think that governments at the moment are at a point where they can deal with this. Private sector as well is not in that part. We have very big technology companies that have a presence on the African continent, and a lot of actually the global south. I hate that word, but that's what it is at the moment. But those companies don't actually have a technical presence. It's just business offices that are selling things. So they don't shape anything. You're just given and fed these technologies on there. So we started this meeting in 2017 was the first meeting, 300 people. We doubled in 2018. In 2018, when we went to Stellenbosch in South Africa, went to Nairobi in Kenya. Last year we were in Tunisia, and about a month ago, we were in Accra in Ghana with about 800 people, 3,000 applicants on there. And these are the people really, this is now the largest AI gathering on the African continent that happens on an annual basis, where people now come in together, and they have lots of different discussions, whether it's been things that have to do, I remember in 2019 in Kenya, thinking really about ethics of AI. Before it kind of became this thing, lots of people were thinking and working on these areas, IoT and AI, and because for them, it's a daily lived experience. It wasn't actually from the perspective of let's theorize it. Right? There are lots of things that they're seeing on a day-to-day basis. How then do they prepare? How do they build the research? How do they do the technical work within there? And one of the things that's also very interesting within there with the deep learning endowment is because you can build it now and also from a very different perspective, you see that. It's very different from any other AI gathering in the world where you get to almost 45% women. Right, we had ICLR this year in Kigali, and you wouldn't still find us, right? And it's because you can bring in the community and say, what if we're now having this opportunity to start again, how do we build this community to really represent what's actually going on in there? So there's still a lot to do within those spaces. I'm hoping it's just, as I said, the lessons that I think I wanted to talk about are very happy inside the discussion points and the question and answers that we go through. I think one last part is there's also opportunity here. My main area is on natural language processing or AI in African languages. And there's a lot now that we're starting to see of how we can bring, especially the social sciences or the humanities, into these spaces. and really look at actually preservation of languages using AI. That's an opportunity. It's going to take a lot of hard work to get this through, but that's the thing I'm very passionate and like really wake up for in doing AI. Yeah, so thanks.
Thank you.